benedicta tui in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui.
Casting live on all our social media channels about the passing of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. We've learned about this 2 days ago, and since then we've been here in the square also to take you with us here into the atmosphere in front of St. Peter's Basilica. Thousands and thousands are now lining up. I'm not sure if you can see that here, all the cameras and the journalists, but then behind them there's a line of people that starts at the beginning of Via Consolazione and then goes all the way in triple lines really around the square. People are lining up there from one side to the other and then back until they can enter St. Peter's Basilica. I had the joy just to be in there as well, saying goodbye again to Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI and seeing also the people there praying. People are kneeling down, praying the rosary somewhere in the corners because of course the personnel inside St. Peter's Basilica is trying to usher the people forward so that everybody can say goodbye. There's not a lot of time. We try to also videotape this a little bit, that all of those who can't be in Rome with us right now get a little bit of an impression of what it feels like to be here in person and say goodbye to Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. It is truly moving, and you really get the sense that a great person, a great Pope has left us, but also the calls for him to soon become a saint, soon become a doctor of the Church are growing louder and louder. If you remember at the funeral of Pope John Paul II, there were all those cries really of Santo Subito, and we can also hear this here. But however, there's a double perception really, and we're going to talk about this in a little while. Also from I would say the mainstream media, how they're reporting on it, and there are really many journalists coming in. And then the faithful who are here in the square and how they're speaking about the Pope. It's a little bit a different perception. But now let me welcome Alexei Gostovsky, who also had to cut short his holidays. He's working with us here in the Vatican Bureau and has been in Rome for a long time now, also kind of observing, watching, reporting on everything that is going on behind the walls of St. Peter's. Alexei, good to have you with us. Happy New Year to you as well. Thank you for coming back also to be with us. Can you tell us a little bit how you flew in, I believe yesterday or this morning, and how is it to be here in Rome?
It is wonderful to be here, but it's also a little bit sad. If you could see that the weather is very dull, and it is due to me, the mood is that it is a funeral of a great man, of Pope Benedict and Pope Emeritus Benedict. And for me, I feel sad and feel a little bit dull because this great person have left us. And I remember the moment when he resigned. And I would say...
You were here when he resigned?
I was here in Rome, and when I heard this news with my companion of the university, we just ran to the square and to see what's going to happen. And it's quite similar because that day was also a little bit dull, and I think it was raining. And so today I feel that for the second time Pope Benedict XVI is leaving the church.
For the second time, he's leaving the church. Well, there are a lot of people who are feeling actually like this also inside the basilica, and there are masses being read. There are people from all walks of life really coming here. Have you spoken to a few people here already?
Just with a few people, with my colleagues, and they were rushing actually to say goodbye to Pope Benedict. And I haven't had yet my chance to do so, and I will go tomorrow. But I've seen the line this morning, and it's incredible how many people actually loved Pope Emeritus Benedict, and how many people traveled here to Rome to say goodbye.
Yeah, we also have a lot of requests just from our friends, families, colleagues, also from across the world, calling on EWTN. Hey, is there space in your office? Can we crash there? Can we sleep maybe over there? We take every little corner. So it's really now the city is filling up, and we'll hear in a little bit also about how the city is actually coping with the situation, because it's not so easy. It's not that it's not been that nobody has seen it coming. No, we've been preparing for this moment for quite a while. But then when people actually start coming, it's also not so easy to cope. Alexei, what will be your personal remembrance of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI? What will you take with you?
I'll take his humbleness and his freedom, because there's two things that I admire of Pope Benedict XVI, because he's a great person, great theologian and leader and pastor, but he was all the time very, very humble. And freedom is because when he resigned, it is just an incredible person, and needs to have this incredible freedom and to say, okay, now I resign and I leave this space. And so there are two things, these two things that I'm taking away.
Also, Pope Francis mentioned that in his first public address after the passing of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI at the Vespers for the year-end, the Te Deum Vespers here in St. Peter's Basilica, where Pope Francis said, well, he really gave this great testimony of faith and prayer, but especially also in his times, in his years that were actually longer than his pontificate itself as a reigning pope. In this time, how he lived, also his position there as a Pope Emeritus, that was very impressive, and that was also a great testimony.
It is incredible to live in these times when we have had two popes, and one pope was duty was to pray and to stay in silence. And as Pope Francis also said, we need to God knows only what that silence meant for the whole church. And I think his legacy is going to be continuing for many years to come. I'm personally reading his books, and I really like Jesus of Nazareth.
Can I just ask you real quickly also for his legacy? I mean, you come originally from Kazakhstan, from the eastern part of Europe. How is a German Pope being perceived there?
I remember when he was elected, and I would say that I didn't know who he was. Many people, a priest would say, yes, Ratzinger, but I did not know who he was. And remember that I think one of his first trips was actually to do the World Youth Days in, I guess it was in Madrid, right? Or it was I don't remember which one, but it was one of the first trips that he did. And I remember young people going to the World Youth Days. I was very young, so I couldn't go, but I remember them coming back and bringing this encounter with the Pope and this love, because for me the Pope was all the time John Paul II. It was like icon, and when Pope Benedict came, it was something new. But after talking with my friends that went to the World Youth Days, it was my first encounter with Pope Benedict XVI.
Interestingly enough, a lot of young people say that Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI played such an important role for them, although he's widely perceived as the professor. The Professor Josef Ratzinger, who is also an intellectual, who is extremely strong on theology, on the words. But at the same time, he really made a big impression on young people in the way he very authentically lived his faith in his life. Alexei, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you also for helping. I understand you'll be helping our English channel, producing there from onwards tomorrow. In the background, we can't see it right now, but right behind our camera, there's a huge stage being built for TV stations who will broadcast from here. I think you also told me that at the Holy See Press Office, there are hundreds and hundreds of journalists arriving.
It's incredible, because I went there to pick up the accreditation, and there are hundreds of the special, tickets for the journalist accreditation. it's incredible because they started to give out them now, but it's not going to finish. So I think we're expecting thousands of only journalists, and more there will be just faithful. So you could watch us in EWTN. We're going to have a special production for 3 days, as you mentioned.
Yes, for a few days, especially on television, which will then be also broadcast onto our digital social media channels with friends, people who accompanied Pope Emeritus Benedict, with people who are experts also on his theology, just to show you and bring to you the legacy of this great Pope, something that seems to be rather important because mainstream media, as we understand, and very soon my colleague from Germany, Rudolf Gehrig, will be joining us, even his home country, they're really reducing the legacy to Pope Emeritus Benedict to the abuse scandal in the church, and portraying sometimes him even as somebody who didn't do enough to stop that, when in fact he really started the whole process of addressing this issue and also bringing justice to the victims and changing the world, the church around. But Alexei, thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, thank you, and God bless you.
God bless you as well. Thank you so much. Maybe I can ask now Rudolf Gehrig, who has been with us also before today, just to ask if there are any updates and anything new that we've heard.
No updates yet, but we see the people continuing going to St. Peter's and to say farewell to Pope Benedict. That's impressive, the whole day.
The whole day is very impressive. Can I ask you, because you're also from the home country of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI, when did you meet him for the first time? Because you've been following the Vatican, you've been following the church also as a journalist for quite some while now. First for the German EWTN channel, and but also in writing, you're contributing to many German newspapers. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I met Benedict. I saw him first in person in 2005 during the World Youth Day.
Oh, we were there together then.
Yeah, I was an 11-year-old boy.
I was not that young anymore, but I was there.
Yeah, nice. No, yeah. So, how was your visit in Germany?
Well, no. The World Youth Day was very, very impressive in Cologne, I have to say. Also because maybe it was a visit to his home country. Was it his first visit back to Germany?
Yes. He was elected in April 2005, and then his first visit was, the World Youth Day was, I think, in June or August in Germany. It was, as I remember, it was very hot. And have you been to this big square with the vigil?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we were camping out there. As always in the World Youth Days, the last vigil and the World Youth Day Mass then on Sunday, which is presided over by the Pope. It was on a large field outside of Cologne, and it was so beautiful because I saw priests there staying up the whole night hearing confessions, and young people standing in line, maybe not as many as there are now lining up for St. Peter's Basilica, but long lines waiting for confession before the main Mass of the World Youth Day.
Yeah, I saw him when he was on this ship on the river of Rhine, coming to Cologne and waving, very shy. And I remember that I was staying in the water because I want to come.
You went into the water?
Yes, I didn't walk over the water because I'm not Peter.
I remember my wife and I were there, and we were seeing like crowds of young people wading into the water, and we were like, wow, that's not very Germanic. It's like, crossing the lines that were put up there and just jumping into the water, welcoming the Pope.
Yeah, it was extraordinary. Even with Germans, we forgot that there are rules. We just want to come as close as possible. And unfortunately I wasn't on the field. That's why I'm so interested in how was it for you just to be to sleep there or see the candles and be in presence with the Holy Eucharist and the Pope.
That was the World Youth Days were very, very important for my personal faith life. Starting with Paris in 1997, where I was 16 years old then, and being there and experiencing a young church, because I come also from a German-speaking country, from Austria. Growing up very close to the Italian border, so if you will, the peripheries up in the mountains. And there, there was still some traditional Catholicism around, but young people wouldn't go to church necessarily, maybe for Christmas, maybe for Easter. And then experiencing a young church, a church that is vivid and is alive and is praying and is taking God seriously. It's not just something to, because we do it for the customs, or we do it because, somebody's paying us to do it. No, it is these young people made an experience, and these young people and we all, and I was young back then, we want to be with the Holy Father. We want to share that, and it wasn't about politics. It wasn't about in which way the church is continuing. No, it was like just dwelling, being, living together with the Pope, together with the Holy Father, and experiencing Jesus together. And it was, it's a little bit. It feels like World Youth Day here. Just saying goodbye also to Pope Emeritus Benedict, because we did start when in Cologne. We did read his books and we did read his message, and we were like, that's not at all how he's being portrayed. This is truth. This is life. This is good.
Yeah, for me, the main point was, of course, when you're standing on the river, you see the Pope, then it's all about the Pope. But later, for example, which is more when I was older, World Youth Day in Spain, just a moment when I realized, wow, we're here for God and to celebrate God, and then you see the small little tiny German man, old, with his very white hair. I was always impressed how white his hair was. It wasn't gray, it was white. And then the wind coming, and just sitting in front of, or kneeling in front of the Holy Eucharist. And in that moment you realize, as a young Catholic, he's not the very important person here. He is important, and he's the successor of Saint Peter, but he wants us to lead us to God. And like you said, he lived a life where you see he's really believing in what he is teaching, and that's impressive.
This is, authenticity. I think that's what we're all craving for. And in this day and age where everything is a show, or not everything, but many things are a show. And then you just see people here that, also journalists. I've seen here Vaticanisti reporting for mainstream media that then go in the pool with the journalists, go to the basilica, and they abandon their post. They're not just taking pictures. No, they're going there with a rosary in hand. They're like, now let's say this together one last time, Pope Emeritus, and let's pray the rosary together. That's quite beautiful, I have to say, and it's a lasting impression as well. Rudolf, I understand you will be working also with the German EWTN channel here, helping them produce the live shows. It will start tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, they arrive tonight, and they're already organizing everything, and we're looking for some guests, and we will have more special guests from Germany speaking with their.
Some of them will bring also on for the English and Spanish-speaking journal. Who do you have in mind? Can you say a few names already?
Yeah, let's start with a little bit of name dropping. So it's not 100% confirmed.
Of course, a lot here must be flexible, and it's a lot of moving pieces here.
But an Austrian guy, famous Austrian guy, Pater Karl Wallner.
Oh, Pater Karl, of course.
Yes, and he's also ready to speak in English, he told us. And he's the national director of Missio, and he has a very strong relationship to Pope Benedict, and he met him several times, so it will be interesting to hear from people who met him.
For anybody who knows that in Austria there is one monastery very close to Vienna that has hundreds of vocations. Really, it's like a priest factory, if I may say so, where really people are. It's run by the Cistercians. It's been around since 1100s or so. Don't quote me on that, but for a very, very long time. It's called Monastery of the Holy Cross, Heiligenkreuz, Stift Heiligenkreuz. And there, Father Karl Wallner, who we mentioned, who is at least in the German-speaking world, quite famous because he also went on TV and they produced CDs with their famous Gregorian chants, which went around the world, was Billboard charts #1 and so on. Everybody wanted to hear that, like really those famous monastery chants, that the prayer of the hours, but in a sung way, basically. Very beautiful there. But they also have a university. They have a college called Pope Benedict XVI. And Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI also went there and opened this college, this university, when Father Karl Wallner was rector at this place. So he invited him back then, and he came, of course. So he will be one of the guests.
Yes. Yes, well, I just received his email a half hour ago and says, yeah, he's ready, he's happy to do that. Or Professor Christoph Ohly, who is in the Schülerkreis, the disciples of Joseph Ratzinger, in a university, he teaches in a university in Cologne. And he met Pope Benedict very often and can tell us more about the spirituality of this Pope.
Yeah, and today we already had Paul Badde on, who has been a journalist for one of the main German newspapers, Die Welt, here in Rome for decades, and has been known personally. Of course, also Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI is very close to his private secretary, very close to people here, and has been following this. We already spoke to him earlier today and brought it up, but I'm sure that he will also be around to comment on him. And then many more guests, also cardinals who are here in Rome, who live just next door, basically, who already signaled their readiness to be on air and to share also their thoughts about this great man and professor and great Pope as well, Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. Thank you, Rudolf. Thank you for being again here. And our last guest here is Matteo Cioffi. Also, we had him on air while we're just trying to bring you a little bit the atmosphere here in St. Peter's Square, with the thousands of faithful that are lining up to go and greet Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI one last time. Matteo, it seems that the lines were stopped now on that, and do you know anything about that?
Well, we saw this huge line coming to the square since early this morning. We see also a lot of people that are going away right now, so it seems that it's a little bit more the people who are leaving the square than coming to the square. I think it depends also how the day will be. We know that it's Monday, but still we are in a Christmas time, holiday. A lot of people are not here in Rome, but at the same time there are a lot of tourists who came to Rome.
And do you know, because you are from Rome, at least you live here also, so do you know how the city is dealing with that? How's the situation on the other side of the Tiber River?
Well, this is something very important to share. Talking from a direct experience of 2005, when St. John Paul II died, I remember the atmosphere of those days, but in particular the fear, the idea that the city could collapse at one point for the incredible amount of people who were coming here. But that was kind of strange for the people who were living here in Rome, how the city was able to respond to this huge and large number of people coming. And I think that even though this time is not going to be the same in terms of number of people coming, I'm sure that the city will be able to respond very well again. We live in Rome, so we know how we have to struggle every day, the city life here. But we also know that this city is used to receive so many people and to deal with Vatican events, beatification, canonization, conclave, funeral. So it seems to be strange to say something like that, but when the city has to face this kind of situation, is always able to give a great response. We know that during these days, starting today, we will have around 30,000 people coming to see the body of Benedict inside the St. Peter Basilica. 35, and this is a big number, but it's not huge. I just want to share an example. Usually when there is the Angelus, the Sunday address, we have here in the square around 20,000. 20, 25 when there is something important. So we have that kind of number with, sure, 5,000, more than that addition. So the number is big, but it's not huge. And so far, for what we can see, there is a big amount of people behind us.
But it's also well organized, it seems to me. The line is moving fast. I've been just in there, and of course the personnel inside St. Peter's Basilica, they're very respectful, but still they're ushering on the people so that everybody can at least get a look and say goodbye to Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. And then you see a lot of people who are looking for a little corner somewhere where they can stay, maybe pray a rosary, say a prayer.
everything is working well. That's what we can say after these first 4 or 5 hours. Let's see how it will be tomorrow and Wednesday. For sure, we know that the main event will be on Thursday, and we are expecting around 60,000 of people. So the double of what we should have every single day.
And the funeral will be outside in St. Peter's Square, not in the Basilica, correct?
Exactly. So there will be 60,000 people here, and it's a big number, that's for sure. But we had a good feedback so far from the city, from the organization. We see a lot of people that are still working, setting up things from a technical point of view. Also, there is a huge structure that people at home cannot see yet, which is in front of us, and it's the platform where we will be in the next days to air and to follow and to cover all the event. But I think that so far everything seems to be fine. As you said, people are very respectful, and everything is working well, respecting, what the people are doing, and also what the people are doing in terms of work, which is another important thing. That you can see how many people are working and trying to share with the people at home.
Yeah, especially also journalists who come from all over the world here now to report on that. I mean, we almost don't have any space here anymore in the small square that has been cordoned off for the media. But behind us, as Matteo explained, there is a big stage being built now, and we will broadcast live in 3 different languages with 3 live teams also over the next 3 days until the funeral, and maybe then even one day afterwards also with the Thanksgiving Mass. It will be Epiphany here in Rome. We'll celebrate this on the 6th, and I don't think it's confirmed yet about the thank you Mass.
We are waiting for that, just to confirm, and then we know that during the rest of the week there will be other traditional events taking place. For example, the baptism, inside the Sistine Chapel, which is something that...
When will that take place?
On Sunday. We will have this on Sunday. And this is an old tradition started 40 years ago with St. John Paul II. And basically inside the Sistine Chapel there is the baptism of some babies of the Holy See employees. So this is something that will take place also this year, and that's something that we were sharing and saying a few days ago.
Also a beautiful symbolism, no? Like death and life so close to each other, and that we can celebrate also the passing of a great person, but then also celebrate the new life that is being brought into the church.
Exactly, and as we said a few days ago, we have to keep in mind that this is a very busy time for Pope Francis, for all the traditional events taking place, and this situation is just adding more and more, but everything is going ahead, the protocol is respected, so nothing changed like 2 days ago when we were here, and in the afternoon the Vespers and the Te Deum took place. So everything is going ahead, but this week will be a busy week for Pope Francis and for all of us too.
So, and we will bring you more updates and more guests also here, just live from the square at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock today. Matteo, I hope you will join us also again if we learn something new a little bit later. One last question to you. Who was Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI's favorite saint? If you want to find that out, there's an interview online by EWTN. Archbishop Georg Genswein has shared with us a little bit more about the private life of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI, especially about his time when he already had resigned, but also before that. How did Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI live his prayer life? Did he take it seriously? Was he afraid of death? And who was his favorite saint? All of that. If you have time, please also watch this interview. It will give you a good insight into Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI's life and being, but also gives you a lot of information about the latest accusations that he had to face, sadly, before his death on the whole abuse crisis in Germany. Because as we know, he was the one pope that started to really change things and to address this situation. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, Matteo, also for coming here and always having so much information for us and preparing everything. All the best also for the next days where we will even have to work more on our live productions. Also on News Nightly today we'll also give an update in News Nightly, our daily news show from Washington DC for the English-speaking channels. Matteo is producing this, so thank you very much. In Rome, Andreas Tonhauser, EWTN Vatican Bureau.